Unwind by Neil Shusterman. Presented by Connor Payne. The main characters are Connor Lassiter, Risa Ward, Jedediah Calder, Cyrus Finch, Admiral Dunphy, and Roland. Key themes are inequality, injustice and the law, anger and violence, and activism. The entire book's hypnosis, written by myself. The book Unwind surrounds the idea of unwinding. Unwinding came about before the events when this book took place. Unwinding is the process of dissecting human body parts for them to be transplanted into other recipients. There was a civil war called the Heartland War in the United States of America over systematic abortion. After the Heartland War, both the pro-life and the pro-choice sides decided upon one common idea. Unwinding, which is interesting enough, was originally created as a joke. As stated in the book, unwinding is the process in which a child between the ages 13 and 18 will be sent off by the parents to a facility where their bodies will be completely deconstructed and sent off in pieces to be used as transplants. As you can guess, many teenagers are upset by this, which is where our main character comes in. Connor Lassiter. As a teen who has had a lot of trouble in school, which is why his parents signed the order to have him unwound. However, he finds out before he was supposed to, and forms a plan to escape. His plan falls successfully, and we were introduced to other characters, Risa Ward and Lev, Jedediah Calder. Lev was raised as a tithe, which is someone who is predestined to be unwound as an offer to God. While this may sound terrible, most tithes are content with this lifestyle and believe it gives their life purpose, which perfectly fits the description of Lev. Connor runs into Lev while running away from the authorities, and uses him as a human shield and ends up kidnapping him. Risa was born in a state home, but there was a population problem where she was living, so she was sent off to be unwound, so that there would be more room for newcomers in the housing commission. Connor's escape causes her bus to crash, in which he convinces her to come with him. As the group continues on their escape, Lev develops a plan to escape from Connor and Risa, and he ends up escaping from them, and he finds himself at a mall scavenging for food, which he meets Sci-Fi, Cyrus Finch. Sci-Fi, as we find out, has a brain transplant when he was younger, and now has a part of an unwind living in his mind. This other personality has a tick for stealing things, which translates over to Sci-Fi. Lev loved journeys with Sci-Fi, not knowing where they were going, but understanding they have a destination. Eventually it is revealed that Sci-Fi is going back to his second personality's house to apologize to the parents for everything he had stolen when he was younger, which Lev forces them to accept. This is the last we see of Sci-Fi, but this has a new effect on Lev. Lev becomes a completely different person and has a completely different outlook on unwinding. While this is going on, Connor and Risa are going to a place to hide, but they find themselves in a huge scheme of adults working together to provide temporary shelter for unwinds, all leading to their final destination to a place called the Graveyard. While on their journey, Connor and Risa run into a particularly troubling unwind named Roland. It is clear from the beginning that Roland wants to fight and is always trying to stir up trouble everywhere he goes. Once everyone runs to their final destination, they find out the graveyard is a huge hideout for unwinds that's located in an aeroplane graveyard, all being run by a man named Admiral Dunphy. At this place, Admiral works with people and lets them stay there till they're 18. As the story progresses, Roland stirs people up in the camp, and people believe that the Admiral is trying to have them all unwound and use them for his own good, which eventually leads to a riot. Connor and Risa stop the riot, but at this point the Admiral has already been severely injured, so Connor and Roland take him to the hospital. At the hospital, there are several policemen and they arrest and interview them. Roland turns Connor and Risa in and offers to tell the police about the campsite in exchange for his freedom. However, in his surprise, the authorities already know about the graveyard and they don't plan on doing anything about it since it keeps unwinds out of trouble and out of sight. This leads to all three of them being sent to the Happy Jacks Carvers camp. Connor and Roland end up being processed for unwinding. Risa, on the other hand, joins a musical band which plays music when the children are about to get unwound. Risa learns that being on the band makes her unwound date extended. Lev later turns himself in after a journey with Sci-Fi. Tithes are treated better than unwinds, with better living at the facility. He joins an anarchic group called the Clappers, who also turn themselves in as unwinds before he returned. Lev and the clappers arm themselves with explosive substance, so when they clap, they release a deadly explosion, killing themselves and others around them. Roland is the first to get unwound, then Connor. After Roland is sacrificed, Connor walks into his near death. All Risa could do is watch him play the piano above, and then suddenly Lev and his three anarchic clap and explode, blowing off Connor's arm and Risa falling down and breaking her spine. But Lev's dose of explosives misfire and he survives. Lev surviving, he decides to save severely injured Connor and Risa from the wreckage. Lev is now held at a high-security detention center, where he's been given multiple blood transfusions to flush out the explosives from his system. Because Lev was a clapper, he won't be unwound either. There will always be a trace of explosive substance in his system, making him useless. He was later given house arrest for guardianship by his disowned brother Marcus, who disagreed on tithing. Connor later wakes up at the hospital with a nurse claiming he's someone named Elvis Millard. Connor takes the hint and the name. The nurse explains that he was a guard qualified for emergency transplants. Being a guard at a child murdering facility gets his good health care benefits. Connor realizes he has a new arms and it's Roland's. Risa becomes disqualified from being an unwind because of her broken spine. Later she pursues a lifetime, ending the unwinding crisis in the future. The end. Author message. One of the most valuable lessons to be learned from reading this book is that people should be valued for themselves, not for what they can do, but for other people. In other words, human beings should always be treated as ends of themselves, not as means to achieve some specific purpose. Book rating. 4.5 stars out of 5. I'd like to see this book in the Australian education curriculum, since it explores the radicalisation and the injustice of the law through the stress of the teenage eye. I connected with the story throughout the whole book. Thank you for watching, and peace out.